President Trump continues to pressure Senate Republicans to pass a bill that gives Americans $2,000 stimulus checks. And some of those Senate Republicans are now not only supporting the idea, but say they even have the votes to pass it. Bloomberg's Laura Davison joins me by phone to discuss. Laura, I want to get to the breaking news right now. I'm seeing an alert just cross the terminal on a story that you wrote. The Senate GOP has blocked the attempt to pass $2,000 stimulus checks. Give us the latest.
Yeah, so the Senate opened this morning, and the minority leader, Democrat Chuck Schumer, came out and said he wanted to hold a vote immediately on these increasing the checks to $2,000. This just passed the passed the House last night with bipartisan support, and that effort was blocked by the majority leader, Mitch McConnell. So this really creates this sort of interesting dynamic if you have, McConnell against something that the president wants, 1 week ahead of an election that will be consequential for not only the two senators in Georgia, but also for the balance of power in the Senate, and whether Mitch McConnell essentially gets to keep his job as the leader of the Senate.
Okay, so let's talk about how this could play out. Where do the the idea of $2,000 checks go from here? We did see, speaking of Georgia, the two incumbent senators from the state of Georgia who face challenge in next week's election, actually today coming out in support of those $2,000 checks. Senator David Perdue, who took his time to come out with a response, said that he supports President real Donald Trump and that he's right. And Senator Kelly Loeffler earlier today on Fox News essentially saying the same thing. So they're splitting with the majority leader here. Is there still the chance for the stimulus checks to go up to $2,000?
There is a chance, but it is unlikely at this point. Perdue and Loeffler are in the minority of their party in terms of who wants these increased checks. Josh Hawley, the senator from Missouri, who has been pushing this idea for weeks, long before the president came out, long before this stimulus deal was finalized, has been pushing this. He tweeted today that there are votes to pass this. It's not clear where those votes are. You need about 10 Republicans to get on board with Democrats to pass this through the Senate, and there's really only 3 or 4 who have publicly said that they would support this. So they need to get a couple more of their colleagues on board. Then there's also the question of, will McConnell allow a vote on this? And this is really kind of where the political calculation comes in. The polling shows that these $2,000 checks are really popular. It could be a boon to both Loeffler and Perdue if they were to pass this before the election next week. It's just not clear that McConnell is going to allow this. He would have some strong objections from others in his party.
Is there a chance that they could meet in the middle?
That is also an option. There's one thing that they could decide on $1,200, which is the amount from the last round. There's lots of ways to sort of cut this, but there's a lot of hesitancy from McConnell to go back and sort of renegotiate this deal that they finished last week with bipartisan support and start opening up different tweaks and changes there. So
you say it's politically popular, and I think that's probably the answer as to why the incumbents in Georgia who face challenges in next week's election came out in support of it. Talk about what has happened in Georgia and how this idea of the president actually going against Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has really shaken things up in this special election.
Yeah, well, Perdue and Loeffler are both relying heavily on President Donald Trump's very ardent supporters to come out and support them in this special election. Trump is not on the ballot this time, but he still has a strong base in Georgia, though he lost the state in the election. But they're banking on, having sort of those loyal supporters come out and be enthusiastic about their candidacies. And that's why you saw, them sort of, instead of breaking with the president and going with the rest of their party, they were, decided to back the president and really, support an idea that their opponents, the Democrats, have been hammering them on. So this has really created these interesting divisions among the Republican Party that are likely to continue even after Donald Trump has left the White House.
So, Laura, what happens in the next couple of days before the new year?
It's really unclear. McConnell said on the floor this morning that they are going to do some sort of action related to these $2,000 checks, as well as 2 other things that Trump has said he wanted, which is repealing these Section 230, these special liability protections for tech companies, as well as looking into voter fraud. McConnell was not clear on what he wants to do there. There's been some speculation that he could combine all of those things into one vote to vote on. That would almost ensure that it fails, because there's things in there that nearly almost every senator would hate. So he could combine all of that just to sort of give the president what he wanted without actually having to take on the political risk of having something that could potentially pass.
If Loeffler and Perdue win in Georgia and Mitch McConnell and Republicans hold on to the Senate, Does the $2,000 idea just die because the election's over?
It's a little bit unclear, and particularly, Democrats are talking about already doing another round of stimulus once Joe Biden is president. I think it would be a lot easier politically for Loeffler and Perdue at that point to say, hey, we've reevaluated, maybe the crisis isn't as bad, job numbers are looking better, whatever, point to whatever reasoning and back off from that when they're no longer under the pressure of a impending election.
Bloomberg's Laura Davison in Washington. Laura, thank you so much for taking the time. I know this is very busy, and we appreciate it, especially after just breaking this story.